comes from feelings and emotions, whatever I'm feeling at that moment when I write it out. Like, take for example, Letter to Myself. That song I produced one day and I didn't really intend on doing anything with it, but then, I just got into this really, really, really bad moment in my life, and it was actually intended as a suicide letter. So I started to write it all out, got the whole thing done, and I said if I live tomorrow, then I'll have to release the song. So put every single word, everything that I wanted to say into that song, folded it up, put it away, woke up the next morning, and I was alive. So I said, okay, gonna put this out. The whole concept of Illfated, the statement is just that it's sarcasm towards those who believe that your fate, your future, your fortune is going to be bad. At one point, I was writing a song and I got it all produced and it was perfect. I thought it was perfect at the time. I was about 13, put in the CD player and I was listening to it. I was so happy. And my mom just got really, really, really pissed off and told me to just, shut it down and stop doing this and stop working on this stuff. It's crap. It's not going to go anywhere. Why do you even bother doing that? And I think it was at that point when I realized that it's my future. It's kind of where I'm going. And if nobody likes it, then it's just, I guess, I'm going to go downhill like everybody says. And I'm going to enjoy the entire ride down. So that's kind of the idea of Illfated. I know I'm going in a bad place, according to everybody else, quotation mark, but who cares? So for me growing up, I chose to do music when I was about 3 years old. I told my parents, and my parents were, not really excited about it. I got asked a lot, who do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? I kept saying singing. My parents kept laughing. Lots of people kept telling me, you got to be more realistic. Eventually got to the point where I was performing pretty much every month. I was writing about 50 songs a week. And that's when the comments went from just laughing to actual serious stuff. You're not going to go anywhere with this. This is just a joke. This is just temporary. Go become a nurse. Go become a doctor. And then as I got older, I kept doing it. And that's when the comments got even worse. Okay, if you continue with this, you're going to be broke. You're not going to really do anything with your life. Sometimes just kill yourself. There's no point in doing this. And every time I got those comments, I'd get angry, but I'd still keep doing what I was doing. So it was almost like I was just accepting their fate. And it got to the point where it was just funny to me when people tell me not to do it. That's where the whole concept of ill-fated comes from, a bad future, bad fortune, bad fate. The name Amanie Illfated actually was an accident because the album that I was writing at that time was supposed to be called Illfated, and I was supposed to just go as Amanie. But then this thing called Facebook came along, so I put Amanie, and then my last name would be just A, which didn't really work out for Facebook, so I just put Illfated as the last name for it. So it was supposed to be Amanie as my name, Illfated as the album title, but then people started calling me Amanie Illfated. So at first I was like, no, I was correcting them, but they just paired it together so much that it just had to be. Being from South Sudan, it actually impacted pretty much my entire modeling career, my entire music career. Back home in Sudan is very conservative. It's a very religion-based tribal country based on extreme respect for your family. So anything you do affects your family, which is why, a lot of things are very strict. So being from there and then coming to Canada was a huge change, for my parents, for my family. For example, it's over there, the whole concept of having boyfriends and, being free and wearing what you want is not really something that's looked up on in South Sudan. But over here in Canada, it's obviously way different. We eat, all sorts of things. We go out at all sorts of times. We party. We wear what we want, say what we want. You can be gay, you can be straight. So I think that really impacted the way I am because I'm not exactly South Sudanese in terms of their culture, but I'm not exactly Canadian in terms of Canadian culture. I'm kind of stuck in between. And I think that shows a lot in my music. I started to see that there were some people, they couldn't voice their opinions, they couldn't say things. There was things about my culture, my country that I couldn't say. There was things about relationships and love that I really, really wanted to push out, just to kind of inspire people to speak out and to say things. And I also wanted to inspire people from my country to see that, it is possible to go somewhere. You may have to go against the norm, against your parents, against your family, but, at the end of the road, there is something there. it's time to kind of push through those boundaries. And I think what I'm doing is getting people to think a little bit differently about what South Sudan really is and how far they can go. People that I rely on not being able to support me feels almost like a knife to the back sometimes. When I was younger, it used to just tear me apart. Like, honestly, I used to not even want to be in the house. I used to feel like I wanted to run away. And that's partially the reason why I left home when I was 16 to come to Toronto. I knew my parents weren't going to fully support me in anything that I did. With my dad, he would shut me down on something that I felt really passionate about. But at the same time, he was my idol. The way he worked, the way he came from one country, with absolutely nothing to be able to have absolutely everything that he has right now. He works with the city of Regina now. And I remember how he got to that position. He started off as a dishwasher, then went from that to a janitor. From a janitor, he started just working and working. And I remember one of my favorite memories with him, he was reading a firefighter's book. And I was wondering, like, Dad, are you going to become a firefighter or something? And he was like, no, I'm just reading this book because it's good to know this information. It's going to help me advance in what I'm doing. And surely enough, it helped him advance into the job that he's in. His work ethic was my example. And I use that towards something that he doesn't even support. To set the record straight, any friend that tells me I can't make it is not my friend. Now that I'm in so deep, I feel like if you can't support me in something that is, essentially my life, then how can you be a friend? So I cut those people out. People come to me with their problems about where they're going in life. They do know what they want to do with their life. They're just choosing to avoid it or choosing not to identify it. It's sitting right there. It's literally right at your nose what you want to do. You know it because it's the things that make you really happy. What I want to tell people is just change it. Like, why do you sit there and complain about the job that you don't like? Maybe it's not the best situation. It's either leave or turn it into a positive situation. And they always come to me and they say, you know where you're going and you seem to have everything all set out for you. Hey, I didn't start off just having money or something. Like, I had no one to pay for anything for me. I had to start off from scratch. I had to work, and not just working like, oh, yay, I'm just like a model or something like that. I started working in a hotel. I worked at a senior home, put up with a lot of crazy bosses, and I could have left those jobs, but I decided to turn it around and say, you know what, I have to work this job because this money, I can contribute it towards my music career. And really, it was just working really, really hard, keeping the goal in mind. The goal for me was always work towards music. Music, I guess, is the only thing that's keeping me alive sometimes. I want Illfated to inspire the change in the world. I want people to be able to express feelings they never knew they had, express thoughts that they never knew they had, and use that, as the catalyst to the decisions that they make in the future. Songs like Letter to Myself, maybe someone else could hear that and realize, okay, you know what, maybe I feel like this now, but I'm gonna change the way I feel so that I can do something better, Maybe it might save a life in order to make, someone do something better. Triangles was written sort of shamefully. It was confusing time. It was written in 15 minutes. And for me, that helped me make a decision. So songs like that, maybe it'll take away the shame and they can make positive decisions. The way I would hope to inspire people is just, for a young girl to see that there's a South Sudanese artist, an African artist who made it, and they're on stage and they're charismatic and they're fearless and they're pushing the envelope and constantly bringing up feelings and emotions that no one else feels. I think that's the ideal of what I want in the end. So everything I do is hopefully inspiring young girls and boys out there to be able to see that everything is possible. No matter where you come from, it's possible. No matter what message you have, it's possible. What I would tell anyone who is struggling, whether it's with self-esteem or just to get to where they want to be, is just to keep trying. Honestly, just to keep trying. Just hang in there and keep doing at least one thing a day, one thing towards what you want. It doesn't matter if you're working 10 jobs and you have no time to do anything. It doesn't matter if you don't believe you can do it. Just ignore all of that and just do at least one thing, one tiny thing. It's always those baby steps that take you to where you need to be. My dad would be the biggest influence on everything. he taught me a lot. He put me through a lot of situations that made me a lot stronger than what I was before. So for that, just thank you. I think that's all that really needs to be said. Just thank you.